everyone. This is John Contreras, and I am coming to you from the beautiful LA suburb of Glendale, California. I'm sitting outside of the Apple store here, and I'm getting my my MacBook Pro worked on right now. And it's a big issue, and it has to do with the fact that people that are exposing what's going on in this world are getting major attacks right now. And I will explain it all, because this, of course, is affecting a lot of people right now. And I'm talking about basically the attacks that the deep state has launched on all those who have dared to expose the New World Order, who are exposing the Zionist Jew conspiracy, who are exposing a lot of things, okay? But in particular, who have been exposing Pizzagate, okay? The huge pedophile scandal, which, contrary to what a lot of people think right now, it has not gone away, ladies and gentlemen, okay? A lot of people think now, this whole thing died out, no one's talking about it anymore. You know, it's just pointless to keep talking about it because, you know, no one's paying attention to it anymore. Nothing could be further from the truth. So, you're listening to Greek News on Demand, based off of our news website, GreekNewsOnDemand.com.
It's too darn hot. I'd like to sup with my baby tonight. Refill the cup with my baby tonight.
Greek News on Demand is somewhat of a boutique news blog. It specializes, ladies and gentlemen, in exposing the conspiracy of the New World Order. It exposes a lot of different things, but it focuses on, ladies and gentlemen, issues that are key and central to understand what's going on really in this world. That's why it focuses on key conspiracies like Pizzagate, like 9/11, and so on and so forth.
But brother, you fight my baby tonight, 'cause it's too darn hot. According to the Kinsey report, every average man you know much prefers his lovey-dovey to court when the temperature is low.
So, we focus mainly on Greek issues that expose the New World Order conspiracy that has targeted Greece, not just in recent years, ladies and gentlemen, with this 7-year-long economic crisis, okay? Not just in recent decades, where we've seen in the past 40-some-odd years the beautiful nation of Greece go downhill on all fronts, economically, spiritually, ethnically, socially, etc. But over the past 400 to 500 years, and this is no joke. Yes, you heard that correctly. So, but we can't help but focus on the fact that what goes on in Greece, okay, is a result of what's going on around the world in general. And what's going on around in general, with all that the New World Order is doing, is affecting all the nations of the world, including Greece. And so here in Glendale tonight I'm spending time with my niece, Joanna. She is 6 years old, and she is super brilliant. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, she is not a product of this New World Order garbage system. She is not a baby that belongs to the system. She's a baby that belongs to herself, to her family, to the truth. She's an independent thinker. She's a free spirit, and nobody can stop her. So, Joanna, tell us now a few words about yourself tonight here in Glendale. Are you having a fun time here?
Yes!
What are you doing here in Glendale?
I'm playing and spending time with my uncle named John.
What else are you doing?
Having fun playing with the water.
You're playing with the fountain here. Did you make your wish?
Yes.
What was your wish?
I wish John won the articles.
The lottery?
No, articles.
Yes, articles too. So, yes, she wishes that I come out with some bombshell articles. And indeed, that's what we do. So, we focus on Greece. We focus on what's been going on there over the centuries and why all that's been going on over the centuries has led to the situation that it's in today, as well as the situation that many countries are in, ladies and gentlemen, because the New World Order has influenced all of the world. The New World Order is here. No one can deny that. We are living in a brave new world, you know. But the good news is that a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people out there are figuring out what's going on in this world. And, you know, the internet is playing a huge role. The internet is the most powerful tool we have. And it affords us to freely think and express ourselves to people around the world. And that's why we should continue to fully take advantage of it, not take it for granted, and basically understand that this is our platform, ladies and gentlemen. This is our mainstream news media platform, if you will. We are the real media out there, the millions and millions of people out there in the world that are engaging and taking on the New World Order by publishing stuff that no one else dares to publish.
I gotta get my tuxedo pressed, gotta sew a button on my vest, 'cause tonight I gotta look my best for Lulu. I gotta find a few bucks somewhere, polish up my shoes and slick my hair, gotta get myself
And so, I'm at the Apple Store here because GreekNewsOnDemand.com, our news blog, you can go there right now, that's one word, GreekNewsOnDemand.com, has received multiple attacks in recent months from the deep state. Yes, you heard that correctly, as well as, most likely, my own laptop, my MacBook Pro, which I paid a lot of money for. So let me explain. I have a friend. He is a top programmer. He is a genius. His name is Giuseppe. And Giuseppe grew up here in LA. He went to a good university to learn programming, but he studied programming under the best minds. And he has literally, ladies and gentlemen, developed key software for the U.S. government, for the Navy, like keyword search software. And throughout his years now, during his career as a programmer, he's seen a lot with his own eyes in the computing world, which tie into all these conspiracies. And I can't get into details now what I mean, but I mean, he's seen a lot of stuff, including 9/11, before it even happened. No joke. So, but what he's been counseling me on is just how the deep state has been able to launch the attacks that it has on people that are speaking the truth. Now, again, I want to emphasize the deep state started when Pizzagate broke. Okay, because remember, this all revolved around the issue of fake news that the media started right after the revelation of Pizzagate, if you recall. And so what I like to do is a more extensive show on this topic because I have Giuseppe as a guest, and he is a key expert on this issue because he is a top programmer and he's worked for major companies, including Yahoo. So anyway, the deep state has been targeting people that have dared to expose Pizzagate as well as many other type of conspiracies. So in a nutshell, you have reports from around the world coming from independent bloggers, even regular journalists, even of course DrudgeReport.com, which are talking about the fact that they have been targeted, of course, by the deep state, which everyone says intimidates Trump. But I don't believe that for a second. I believe he himself is part of it. And there's many, of course, reasons behind all that. But regardless, when you have the Drudge Report coming out with their own articles and saying that the deep state is trying to stop them because they've been exposing the Clinton crime machine and things of that sort, I mean, that says a lot because they're the number one news site around the world. I mean, my own site alone has recorded on the cache memory tons and tons of illegal entries by hackers from all over the world, including, of course, Chinese. And right now, Greek News On Demand is in the process of transferring to a brand new platform whereby we will be able to exert complete control over the cache, because I will have now my own program software on my laptop, which allows me to be in complete control of the site. Now, this site, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very key site. It comes out just with key bombshell articles. We don't cover everything, like I said. And it is followed and it is read by top government officials of the Greek government, Greek intelligence, and so on and so forth. Just the other day, my sister was doing business at the Greek consulate in Los Angeles, and somehow the conversation with her and the employees there started revolving around me, and they all knew who I was and my site. And I got on the phone to talk with them, and they were like, Mr. Contreras, Mr. John Contreras, we know you very well, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. We love your site, we love your work. And I'm like, dude, this is amazing. So Greek News On Demand is a very, very key Greek news site that's getting the truth out. We try our best to publish a lot in English, too. We have an English section on our site. All you got to do is just see the homepage, and you'll see English articles. So check those out, too, because we strive our best to translate into English all of these key articles about Greece that expose things, let's say, for example, like the truth about the Greek debt, which was blown up on purpose to be used as a pretext to put Greece under the control of the Troika. This was done back in 2010 in conjunction with the then Greek government, George Papandreou, and, of course, the International Monetary Fund, Strauss-Kahn, and all these usual suspects. So, But anyway, Greek News On Demand has received major hits, and I believe that my computer has received a major hit because a few weeks ago I was doing updates, and basically a big black screen after I did my updates, and I turned my computer on. After that, it started behaving very, very strangely. In other words, what happened was my browser started refreshing like crazy. Safari quit unexpectedly. It pulls up a black screen. It says the same thing, but in English and in other languages, including Asian languages, which looks like Chinese and Japanese. It's just crazy. This has never happened to me before. And so what my programmer thinks is the deep state hackers got hold of me. And this is where his expertise comes in, because he talks about the fact that, with what the deep state does, is it doesn't just have its own, army and employees. Okay, I'm talking about the CIA, NSA, and all these a-holes, excuse my French. But what they do is they hire on very, very sophisticated hackers to do their dirty work, okay? So, these people are based all over the world. Let me give you an example. One time when my programmer was checking the log of my cache, of my site, he noticed that it had received some attacks from some hackers in a remote island off the coast of Africa. As crazy as that sounds, he saw it all live. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So he showed it to me. It was there. It was clear. It was evident. Other times he showed me how there was hackers from Turkey and other places. So we were able to track these people. We were able to figure out who they are, where they come from, and what they're trying to do to their site. They're trying to load it with a bunch of garbage to crash basically the whole operating system of the site. Now, the operating system is based online, of course, with the server. But we're developing a way to prevent all that. And particularly in an event if the whole site would be crashed, deleted, or erased. So now we're going to have complete control over the cache. It's going to be stored on my own laptop, and no one's going to be able to mess with it. And in the event, let's say if my server completely crashed and I lost my site, all I have to do is upload all of my data stored on my laptop to a brand new, server. That's all. So what the deep state does is they have armies of hackers. They hire them, okay? They pay them well. They come from many different countries. And their job is to basically develop means by which to screw with people on their websites. So they've developed viruses whereby they can, these hackers can get into people's databases of their blogs. They can get into their ads. And if they can get in that far enough, they can do some serious damage to your website, to your blog. So, for example, I mean, in my own blog, a lot of times Chinese ads will pop up. I mean, I don't promote anything Chinese because I'm Greek. So we looked at the log the other day, and it was full of Chinese data, okay? So it's not just, there's a lot of things, a lot of people out there participating in this, and you're like, oh, do the Chinese participate in the deep state and the CIA? I don't know. But the one thing I do know is that there are thousands of reports out there that are talking about the same thing, that their blogs are being attacked by the deep state because they're exposing truth. And the deep state is attacking, ladies and gentlemen, alternative news. Why is that? Well, because alternative news is at the forefront, ladies and gentlemen, of exposing what's going on in this, what's really going on in this world. That's why. It's just that plain and simple. Just today, I had a good friend of mine who has one of the biggest blogs in Greece, paradrasi.gr. Anyway, he showed me a screenshot of the number of attempts of illegal entry into his blog today. It was something like 12,000. Okay, 12,000. Now, he gets thousands of hits on his blog every day, okay? But when he showed me the screenshot, this just said it all. I mean, this just verified everything, And thankfully, he was able to ward off these attacks. But, I mean, the same thing is happening with other big blogs, too. Really, like I said, this all started with, if you recall, when Pizzagate broke, it was, beginning of November 2016. And so the internet was flooded, as well as the mainstream news media, with all these reports that Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, and all these freaks are running pedophile rings out of pizzerias in Washington and so on and so forth, okay? And the news just exploded. And, mainstream news was talking about it, but eventually, after so many days, they were forced to pretty much discredit it and shut it all up for obvious reasons, okay? And then after that, just to demonstrate how guilty they are, the mainstream news media, what it does is it then announces, to show how guilty, in other words, how complicit they are in this crime, they announce that basically anyone who talks about all this stuff, all these conspiracy theories, Pizzagate, they are now considered fake news, okay? Fake news, quote unquote. When in reality, the fake news comes straight from the mainstream news media, because the mainstream news media is bought and paid for by big corporate interests, pharmaceutical companies. It is 100% controlled by Zionist Jewish interests. The secret intelligence, the CIA and the NSA give their talking points to all these clowns on all these networks. We know that by now. This has been admitted. I mean, it was the former head of CBS News, I'm trying to remember his name, who back in an interview in the mid-'70s admitted all this, okay? That, CBS News was taking its talking points from the CIA, okay? So, anyway, besides all that, when you have this complicity of the mainstream news media in covering all this up, okay, and you have them announcing on behalf of the government and, of course, the deep state that those who talk like this are fake news, okay, when in reality they should just be independent, they should just report on this, okay? When you have them demonizing, in other words, the real journalists, meaning us out there who speak the truth about all these subjects, that just says a lot about them. I mean, all they're doing is just demonstrating their guilt, because they're using their power to shut people up. That's not being fair and honest. That's being fascist. If we live in a free and open society that's accountable, where our leaders are accountable to the people, why is it that they're all acting like fascists? Why is it now we have verified news reports that there is a deep state that is controlling the political process behind the scene? The political processes of this country. For me, the deep state is not just the CIA and NSA. It's a lot more than that. It's the shadow government. The deep state is probably the part where, the intelligence services come in and play their role. But I mean, it was the mainstream news media itself back in, it was November, December last year. I'm trying to recall, for example, MSNBC News that reported on the fact that WikiLeaks had revealed, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this, the conspiracy. And some memos, actually with some emails that John Podesta had exchanged with some other Hillary Clinton staff members back when, it was 2011, I believe, when Hillary Clinton was still Secretary of State. John Podesta and his crew, other key staff members of Hillary's State Department back then, were discussing the fact that there is something called a shadow government that is manipulating political processes behind the scene. Okay? Yes, you heard that correctly. The same John Podesta, who has been accused by millions and millions of people around the world for being a major pedophile, for running pedophile rings with Hillary Clinton and other people, because, as you all may recall, within all these email conversations of Hillary Clinton and her staff members, including John Podesta, over the years, let's say, for example, from 2009 roughly and on, throughout all these conversations, they're using pedophile code language that has been already outed, that has been exposed for years now by the FBI. And the fact that our government has not investigated these people screams out loud conspiracy in broad daylight. I mean, why is it then that, the FBI even deals with this issue? Well, they do. The problem is when you're dealing with key high-level people like Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, you're dealing with the elite that controls this country. You're dealing with the deep state. And these people pull the strings of power, okay? The fact that the Clintons have not gone to jail yet just says it all. It screams open conspiracy. Because if Donald Trump was really a real U.S. president, he would have already put them in jail, which he hasn't. He's lied. He lied about all that, okay? So, the reason why people that deal with mainstream news media, that expose mainstream news media, that expose government corruption, and they're not just, ladies and gentlemen, they're not just conspiracy theorists. They're not just independent media. They're mainstream news media. There's people in the mainstream news media that are exposing this stuff, okay? And some of them have been fired from their jobs in recent months for doing so, like for exposing Pizzagate. And other ones are probably just holding on to their positions. But, it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, because when you have millions of people around the world talking about this stuff, statistics don't lie. Polls don't lie when it shows how millions of people around the world are waking up to the New World Order, how millions of people don't trust their governments. I'm talking about from peoples all over the world. So, the fact that, when Pizzagate broke, that's, of course, the government basically had to find a way in order to shut everyone up. And that's what they've done with the fake news campaign. Now, the fake news campaign has been accompanied by something very, very evil and sinister that our government has done. It's now been verified that our government, the CIA and NSA, are working together with social media, Facebook, YouTube, Google, okay, with the internet, to shut people up, okay? And this is very serious, ladies and gentlemen, because when you have your own government attempting to shut people up, What does that say? And that's how I was saying earlier. Drudge Report reported a couple months ago how their website was shut down. They got threatened by the government because they have been key over the years in exposing the deep state. For example, they've been exposing Bill and Hillary for years. Remember, it was Drudge Report that first broke the news about the Clinton-Monica Lewinsky scandal. Do you all remember that? We all remember that, of course. Now, the guy that leaked this information to them was none other than Larry Nichols, the archenemy of the Clintons, who was a guy who helped them in the beginning become what they are, okay? Larry Nichols, the guy who helped them in Arkansas, the guy who was their paid assassin, the guy who, saw it all. I mean, I've been in contact with Larry over the recent months, and he's revealed a lot of this stuff to me firsthand. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. When you have the actual guy, the source telling you this stuff, it's just mind-boggling, verifying it all to you, including the Clinton murders. Now, Larry helped us recently write a key front-page article in a mainstream news Greek newspaper, me and one of my colleagues, on an issue that, of course, concerns natural resources. It had to do with Greece's natural resources. And Larry Nichols was basically counseling the Greek government, the Greek people, on how to utilize their natural resources to help Greece, because he was a counselor, an advisor to the Kuwaiti government and other governments in the Middle East years ago. And, when he was in Kuwait, he helped the Kuwaitis develop a model by which to utilize their natural resources for the benefit of the people. And that's why every year each citizen gets a check for about $70,000. I mean, my God. And I know their population is not that big compared to other countries, but still, I mean, we have, for example, Alaska that issues everyone a $2,000 check or more every year because of the oil sales from the state of Alaska. But anyway, Larry Nichols helped us with that article. It was a huge bombshell article. It went viral. It was published in this newspaper. It was also published in my blog, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. And Larry is definitely a repentant guy. He is a born-again Christian. He's devoted his whole life to God, to the truth, to exposing the Clintons, to taking them down. He's a great individual, and we appreciate him. So it was Larry Nichols that leaked this information to the Drudge Report back in 1998. My goodness. And that, of course, is what led to Bill Clinton's impeachment, as we all may recall. So, even Drudge Report, ladies and gentlemen, is getting intimidated by the mainstream news, by the deep state. Even they have been targeted. So this isn't a conspiracy theory, quote unquote. This is real. And, like I said before, when you have millions of people around the world studying all these conspiracies, researching all this stuff, questioning their governments, what does this tell you, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, are we going to believe an elite class of a-holes who don't give a shit about us, excuse my French, who are part of secret societies, okay, who have sold us out? Or are we going to believe humanity? Are we going to believe the millions upon millions of people around the world that are waking up, that are starting to think for themselves like never before, that are using the internet, that are using their social media accounts to expose the New World Order? I take the side of humanity. I take the side of common sense. I mean, just look at the flat earth theory alone. The flat earth theory has exploded. There are millions of people around the world now getting into flat earth. This is mind-boggling. I mean, I just got into it back in, December, January. I mean, not that I didn't believe it before. It's just I never had time to get into it because I've been covering so many other things with what I do. But it's becoming huge in Greece now, and I'm playing a huge role in this, by the way. It's a fantastic thing. I mean, it's addicting. Flat Earth, I must admit, is addicting, ladies and gentlemen. I've been appearing on Greek radio and Greek TV talking about Flat Earth theory. Anyway, that's another subject. But, I mean, this actually ties in with this because when you have people now waking up to all the lies that our governments have told us, this is a great thing. And they're waking up to a myriad of different issues. And there's still a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, that we still don't know that our governments have done against us. So we need to keep waking up. And the whole flat earth thing is great because you have people researching this and researching this issue, and it's making them think. It's causing their minds to open up. It's causing them to question NASA, but it's also causing them to question the government in general. I mean, this is fantastic. So we could do another show on flat Earth. I think it'll be fantastic. But besides all this, getting back now to the deep state. The deep state, like I said before, their job right now is to cooperate with the media. It's to cooperate with these hackers, and it is to take down people, ladies and gentlemen, to demonize them either through the mainstream news media or take them down through their hired hackers. And my key programmer is verifying to me, even from my own data logs of my cache on my website, what these people are doing, what these hackers are doing. And recently, about several months ago, he discovered how there was once server attacking my website that was associated with secret intelligence. And from his conclusion, it was probably CIA, but the people were like, the hackers originated like from Turkey. So, when the elite is running scared, they're going to try whatever it takes. And in this day and age, they're going to try to do whatever it takes to shut us up. So in this day and age, how do they shut people up? They shut down the internet, okay? They put more controls on the internet. They get social media to censor people, okay? Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg has pledged to do away with fake news? I mean, that just says it all. That just says it all. I mean, the fact that our government or whoever is trying to shut people up, trying to take away their Second Amendment right, that just tells you, ladies and gentlemen, we don't live in a free and open society. We live in a fascist society. We need to wake up and we need to realize that the government is not our friend, it's our enemy. Because our government is bought and paid for by Zionist Jewish interests who are working for a new world order. They're bought and paid for by the big corporations. Okay? They are not serving the interests of the American people. And our founding fathers told us clearly, if our government turns against us, we need to get rid of them. And it was Thomas Jefferson said, we need to form local militias. We need to do whatever it takes. Our government has betrayed us. They're the enemy. It's time for us to rise up, unite, and take our country back. It's time for the peoples of the world to take their countries back. I mean, look at the nonsense that's going on around the world. I mean, just with the election of Macron in France. I mean, you have all these people that are rising up against him because they know he's a establishment guy. They know he's bought and paid for by Rothschild interests. I mean, for crying out loud, he was a former employee of a Rothschild-controlled bank. So all these people are like, we hate Macron. He's a socialist, fascist bastard. We want to get rid of him. A lot of them like Marie Le Pen. I don't like Marie Le Pen simply for the fact that she's a Freemason too. She's there just as a prop to string everyone along and make people think, oh, there's good people out there in politics. Oh, she's conservative. That's all garbage. So anyway, it's not just the deep state of America that's trying to shut people up right now. It's nations around the world. That's Germany, for example. What is Germany doing? Germany is doing unbelievable garbage to its people. It's censoring people like never before on social media. If you are a blogger, if you're just a guy with a Facebook page and you're writing stuff on Facebook against the Islamist invasion of Germany, you're going to get a knock on your door from the police, and you might even go to jail. I mean, this is sick. This is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. But, now that we've discussed the conspiracy, okay, now that now that I've gone over all of this as I'm monologuing here, now that I've explained basically how our government, of course, is using hackers to take patriot bloggers down, to take alternative news sites down, okay? We need to start talking about solutions. And there are solutions, okay? And like I was saying before, there are ways to protect yourself in this day and age. Now, you're going to need a sophisticated programmer who knows about what's going on, who keeps up with all the news in the computing world, who's like my programmer, Giuseppe, who studies up on trends in the computer world, who knows basically how to... I'm talking about programmers who study up on trends. For example, in the blog world. The blog world is huge. Blogs are a key way for people to express themselves nowadays via the internet. And right now, all the big blog platforms are now being targeted by the deep state. They can shut your blog down. They can throw a virus in it. They can, do to it what they've done to my blog recently, whereas, for example, where they flood the database, okay, of the operating system and cause your blog to go slow, or just knock it off completely offline. So that's why a lot of you sometimes, when your blog goes offline, it'll pull up a completely white screen and it'll say something like, connection not connected to the host, or something like that, okay? That's because they have accomplished to, shut your blog down temporarily. And at that point, you have to flush your database. You have to restart your blog from your server service and all that garbage, okay? So, all the blog platforms, I'm talking about Blogspot, I'm talking about WordPress, they are now target. It used to be before where WordPress was sort of like indestructible and nobody could mess with it. And it was like, its server was impermeable to hackers. Just in recent years, past couple of years, it has now become very susceptible to new types of methodologies of hackers that have become even more sophisticated, that are getting help from secret services, from intelligence services of their respective countries, who work together, of course, with the CIA. All this information is coming out, ladies and gentlemen. And the government, more or less, has declared war on us. So, it's time for us to rise up, get smart, get organized, fight back, and not take any of this BS from anyone. Because this is our country, this is our government, this is our world. The government serves us. But unfortunately, our governments today are completely sold out to the New World Order. And of course, this is no longer a conspiracy. Everyone now knows that they belong to secret societies, but most people are out there like, who cares? This doesn't affect me. Wrong, it very much does affect you. It affects everything in your life. It affects the food that you eat. It affects the information that you receive. It affects your liberties. Okay? So this is a very, very critical, important issue that people need to wake up to. So the blog platforms, ladies and gentlemen, they have now fallen prey. There are these new type of platforms, like what I was sort of describing at the beginning, where you can now transfer your data, all of the files of your blog, to this sort of static file, okay, that your server provides. From there, you can back this all up on a special program that you can install on your own computer. And there you can preserve and save all of your blog files, okay? You can update it on a daily basis or every few days or every week, whatever. Just like you do with your normal computer files. And pretty much that way, your blog is 100% safe. In other words, no hacker could go in and mess with it, okay? Because from your own laptop, you'll be controlling the cache of your blog. You'll have control of that. It won't be sitting out there on the cloud or in the internet somewhere in some server database, okay, where a hacker can get in by using different little tricks. For example, there's hackers today that now, like I was describing before, they can get into your blog and wreak havoc with it by getting through your ads or going through your contact form, okay, or things like that, all right? But with this type of new format, they can't do that because you control all that from your blog. And it's sort of a tricky way, but this is the type of format that big news sites use, like BBC. Okay, this is what my programmer is describing to me. And this is something that everyone's going to want to look to and turn to, where you now have control over your blog's database, over your cache, straight from your own laptop. Okay, and you're going to have all the files backed up there, and you can back them up there. Your computer, all the computers nowadays have enough space to, handle all that information. Or you could just use an external hard disk. It's not a big deal. And this way, like I said, no hacker's going to be able to go in there and do whatever he or she wants to you and to your blog. Okay. So this is definitely a solution that people need to start looking to. People need to start they need to start making YouTube videos. They need to start writing articles about this. They need to start talking about how we can stand up to the deep state and deal with their attacks against us, how we can unite, how we can help one another out, how we can protect each other, how we can safeguard our sites, and so on and so forth, okay? One other thing I want to point out, too, is how the deep state is just gone completely wild. It's gone wild completely, along with all the tech companies, because if you go into Google right now and you type in Business Week, Rothschild's move to Silicon Valley, you'll find out how the Rothschilds, ladies and gentlemen, just opened up a Rothschild and Company Incorporated branch in Silicon Valley, near San Francisco. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Rothschilds are moving to Silicon Valley. So what does that mean? Okay? What does that mean for us? For, let's say, people that use the internet to get the truth out. It means a lot, because when you have the Rothschilds now lending, and the story from this site is as follows. The Rothschilds are using, the Rothschilds are forming a new relation with all the big tech companies in Silicon Valley. They're going to be offering them major funding now, okay? That's why that's exactly the reason why they're opening up like a branch of their bank in Silicon Valley. This means, though, that they then can exert even more control over these tech companies and tell them what to do. Because if these tech companies are taking money from the Rothschilds, what do you think's gonna take place? What do you think's gonna happen as a result of all that? I mean, this just stinks to high heaven. So, read the article. You can find it on Business. Just Google it, Rothschilds in Silicon Valley, and then you'll see what's taking place here. I mean, this is just insanity, pure insanity. When you have the biggest bankers of the world now controlling tech companies through finance. And remember, the Rothschilds always control nations and people through finance. That's what they stated their own selves. It was Nathan Rothschild who said in 1861, "I care not who makes the laws of the country, because whoever holds the purse strings of the state, whoever controls the finances, controls the country. He's the real power." Okay? So, people are already talking about how the Rothschilds are going to now tell the tech companies, like, for example, let's say Google, to create an algorithm by which to control keyword searches about themselves, about the Rothschilds. So, for example, if you try to type in Rothschild's New World Order conspiracy, it'll take to something else. You won't be directed to the right type of search that you're looking for. I mean, this is insanity. This is dangerous. This is just straight out tyranny of the internet, straight fascism, fascist control of the internet. Okay, so I'm back at home now, and I'd like to play for you a clip from the YouTube channel, A Call for an Uprising. A Call for an Uprising, with the title, Rothschilds Heading to Silicon Valley to Take Over Tech World, Google, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Listen to what the gentleman says here, and you'll see what I mean.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is A Call for an Uprising.
This is A Call for an Uprising. Welcome to today's show. Guess who's coming to the Silicon Valley? Rothschild and Company. Isn't that exciting news, folks? One of the oldest banks in Europe is making a move onto Silicon Valley, setting up shop in San Francisco with their eye on the tech world. The Rothschilds, who created a family partnership over 200 years ago, and in the early 19th century, 5 of his sons established banking businesses in London, Paris, Frankfurt, Naples, and Vienna. Let's be realistic here. The Rothschilds are the reason that we have, obviously, the Federal Reserve and the federal banking system, which is corrupt as they come. The Rothschilds directly work with Satan. I know people say, what do you mean directly work with Satan? I mean what I said. They directly work with Satan. The Rothschild family, who even openly admits to owning and setting up the current state of Israel, which so many people have decided to put blinders over their eyes because they refuse to see what's really going on in Israel and how corrupt and disgusting the current state of Israel is, because that's how all of this works, right? This gigantic psychological operation, this massive mind control. So now the Rothschild Company, the firm, announced it's opening a San Francisco office in a bid to win business advising technology companies on deals. So they want to get more involved in the tech world, which isn't really a surprise. But this is just more confirmation of what we're going to be seeing going on the internet, as they're going to look to grow a lot of these companies like Facebook, these social media sites, which are strictly there to data mine, to steal your data and your information, to take your privacy away, and to stalk your every move, your likes and your dislikes, to monitor you around the clock. That's what they're there for. Now, of course, this company goes under the guise of advisory business. Give me a break. Even mentions how the French president-elect Emmanuel Macron worked for the Rothschild Company. So just another guy who they've placed in a prominent position of power around the world as they continue to usher in their new world order. Let me read some of this propaganda article for you. The intense deal-making in Silicon Valley in recent years has attracted hordes of investment bankers eager to lasso the next billion-dollar startup. Now Rothschild and Company, embarking on a campaign to expand throughout North America, is setting up shop nearby. The firm plans to announce on Tuesday it will open an office in San Francisco, led by new hire Chris Gartner, who will also oversee the global technology group. San Francisco is the second new office that the firm has opened in the past year after a Chicago outpost that focuses on industrial companies. So for those of you who weren't aware, that we actually have 2 others. There's one in Los Angeles, a Rothschild Company. There's one in Chicago, and now they're opening this one up right outside of Silicon Valley to make sure they can get their hands on whatever good idea comes out. Because let's be realistic here. Any idea that comes out, if you don't hand it over to them, if there's something that's going to make a lot of money, you better be one of them, or they're just going to take your idea and kill you off. They don't let people become billionaires and trillionaires. They just don't. You don't join. You have to join into these secret societies for them to even allow you to advance. So now they're keeping their eye on the tech world with all of the censorship. What a surprise we see going on with Google. At the same time, we see the Rothschilds moving into Silicon Valley while we see Google taking a $2 billion hit because they don't care, because they print money, because the Rothschilds and Google, these guys print money. The bottom dollar doesn't mean anything to them because they can print it at will. But censorship means the most to them right now. So the Rothschilds, with all this stuff going on with YouTube, with Google, all over the internet, where you can't even Google search because of Google Owl, you can't even Google search, is the Holocaust real? Did that many people really die there? Any questions like that, Google is blocking out. I mean, how unbelievable is all of this? It says, so it possesses one of the best-known names in finance. Rothschild has room to grow. Do they? Do they have room to grow? Talk about a ruse, right? Yeah, they have room to grow, but they could just print money at will, and nobody has to monitor it. Nobody cares. They can just keep printing it day and night. So, yeah, sure, they have room to grow. It ranked 13th in worldwide announced deals, according to Thomson Reuters. That put the company ahead of fellow boutiques like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, more, Illuminati, satanic bloodline families there. The company goes on to say, tech is always innovating, so we're always looking at places where they can change an entire industry. In other words, what they're saying is they're looking to make sure they can control every industry, and they know how dangerous the internet has gotten for them because people are actually finding real news on the internet now, and they're not turning to their television. They're not turning to their media because they know that they're liars and they're frauds. So this continual clampdown that you're going to see with censorship online. What a coincidence all this is happening, and the Rothschilds are moving into Silicon Valley. I'm sure they're just printing money, and they're going to be handing it out around Silicon Valley for anybody that can come up with an algorithm that can completely ban fake news and censor what they claim to be fake news, which is channels like this. Because they want to have an algorithm so that it's automatically censored out and spit out. And we already see them doing it on YouTube. A lot of people messaging me every single day. My videos don't show up in your subscription feed. I get unsubscribed. It's not just my channel. I know it happens to a lot of channels out there. So this is the Rothschilds. I just want to do a quick video on it. On their way to Silicon Valley, folks. I wonder if there's an agenda behind that. Taking over the tech world? Or are they there strictly to control and censor technology? Let's be realistic. And if you're somebody in the San Francisco area, Chicago area, no, I can't condone going and throwing eggs at the building. But if you wanted to stop in and let them know how you feel, you still use free speech while you can. Go knocking on their doors and tell them how you feel about their satanic worship. Ask them about Zionism, Kabbalah, all this stuff that these people follow, which is all satanic, which teaches pedophilia, promotes human sacrifice, promotes cannibalism, promotes witchcraft. These are the people controlling the things on this earth. God is in total control. But the manipulation inside this matrix, it's all manipulated by these people. And at the tippy top of the pyramid is the Rothschild family. And everybody knows that. So here they are moving to Silicon Valley. What a coincidence that the timing matches up with this massive panic that they have going on, because they're panicking about online censorship. So it must be a coincidence this is all happening at the same time. Give me a break, Rothschilds. Maybe when Lord Rothschild takes a visit to San Francisco to see the new office, maybe he'll take a jump off the Golden Gate Bridge and do the world a favor. Is that too extreme? I don't think so. These people are sick. They're corrupt. They're controllers. They're the ones who have enslaved the nation. They're the ones who have enslaved the minds of so many people. They're the ones who have pushed the satanic worship through music, through television, through everything. And their day is coming soon. I promise you that. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.
Okay, so that was, again, the channel Call for an Uprising on YouTube. Check it out. This gentleman comes out with some very, very revealing videos on the New World Order, on exposing government corruption. He's been one of the leaders in exposing Pizzagate, one of the leaders on YouTube. So he's doing a pretty good job. So there you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. A mainstream news publication is talking about how the Rothschilds have moved into Silicon Valley. So ultimately, they are the ones that are behind the fake news campaign. They're the ones that are behind the demonization of patriotic news sites, whether they're alternative news or mainstream news, like Drudge. But it's not that I'm like a real big fan of Drudge Report anyway. He does go along with the pseudo-conservatives in Washington. He supports Zionist Israel and all that garbage. So, but I'm just saying, when Pizzagate broke, a lot of people were talking about it, and a lot of the Hillary opponents on the right were using it as a way to expose her. Now, of course, what's become of that? Well, none of these criminals have gone to jail. No one's been prosecuted. No one's been tried. It's all been hushed up. Trump hires on James Comey in the beginning, knowing damn well that the guy's a criminal and that the guy covered up all the Clinton crimes. Why did he just hire him on for like a few months and then all of a sudden just fire the guy? That did not make sense. Okay? So, James Comey had a huge opportunity to, expose all this and prosecute the people that are behind all this, but he's part of the deep state. He went along with this whole demonization of, patriotic news sites, alternative news sites, all on behalf of the fake news campaign. And now Donald Trump, of course, hires him on, then all of a sudden he just decides to fire him. Ridiculous. And then you heard his recent interviews on firing James Comey. Is he really going to deal with James Comey and the deep state and put these people in jail? I don't think so. That's because Donald Trump is the deep state. Anyway, this was Greek News on Demand. Check out our news site, GreekNewsOnDemand.com, particularly our English article site. Thank you so much for listening. God bless. Take care.
On the Tracks you can catch every Monday night and Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time